start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gail, could you conduct a roll call, please?
Supervisor Kennett,
Present?
Councilman Fidelli,
Present.
Councilman Kay,
Here.
Councilman Midwood,
Here.
and Councilwoman Morrison. Here. We have quorum.
Okay, thank you. I have two additions to the agenda which you were previously sent. One is a motion to approve a change order in the sand salt building for the driveway entrance. And the second is a motion to approve the lease of a copy machine. With those two additions, could I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. I don't see anybody else in the waiting room, so I think we're good with the Zoom. And for those of you who just joined, we are in the library annex, and the board is all here, along with a few other town employees and a few observers, and we are very spaced out. We're also quite warm. Anyway, welcome to our first in-person town board meeting. Given the temperature in here, it may also be the last, especially with our masks. But it does point to the problem that we have with the existing boardroom at Town Hall, which is simply, under any circumstances right now, too small to accommodate us. It points to probably to an issue with Town Hall as a whole, but I'm not going to get into that now. We have a full agenda. We have an important financial step to take on our new highway garage. The progress is going well, and I'm going to ask George if he could say a few words about it in a few minutes. Town Hall, a little quick update on Town Hall. It remains locked, open by appointment only. We have two pass-through windows, one into the clerk's office and the other one into the vestibule of the Town Hall. That each of them was built by the spouse of one of our Town Hall employees, and I have to be the first to confess that it took me a little while to see the benefit of it, but I totally see the benefit of them. They've worked really, really well, and I want to express my appreciation to both Rich and to Dennis for building them. They really work well. The Town Hall is sanitized every evening. We are trying to keep it to one person to a room. Masks are required when coming and going, and when passing through in the hallway, and when 6 foot separation is not possible. And we have a visitor's log in the downstairs vestibule for the occasional visitors. There's only one since the log got put up that's been, and that was the plumber who came to fix a toilet. So that was important. We'll get into the agenda in a minute, but the only other thing that I wanted to mention is that one of the things that we are required by the state to do is to conduct sexual harassment training for all town employees. And this is something which we will get to this year. But I would like to, we'll have a chance to, talk more about it with the board later, but I'd like to add in to that workplace harassment and racial bias awareness. I think that all of those are important ingredients in our having a, not just a friendly environment, but also a professional environment which respects the time that we're living in. So you expect that I'm going to come back to that at some point. Like to move on to, hi Warren. I'd like to move on to our department reports. Since we talked about it earlier, why don't we ask Catherine Johnson for the assessor's report? That's okay?
Thank you. Good evening. As for your fixing, the board has my report in front of them. Just want to touch on a few items as we finish our assessment year, which runs July 1st to June 30th off the calendar. But our previous dates meeting determinations were completed by the board of assessment review, and those have been sent to completers, reported in my role as town clerk. My 2020 final role is complete. It's published and available for view online at the Dutchess County website. There is a link on the town website, on the announcement page, and also on the assessor's office page. We received 100% equalization rate for our assessment roll on May 18th. So we are approved by the state and we're good to go for this year. Just a reminder, this roll, this 2020 final roll is the assessment roll on which we will be taxed over the next 12 months. So the whole year is based on this, taxation is based on this goal. And then now I begin the 2021 goal, which I can't even think of that number quite yet. And the only other item is, if you'll have one see their report, is I have put a list of exemptions granted as I do every year. So you can see how things have changed over time. Basically this year I can say there's no major over the last couple of years, except for the star exemption, we have a lot fewer, and that is simply because state has taken over the star exemption. And so as people sell their houses, new owners do not get the exemption, they get what's called star credit. So I have less and less exemptions on the roll. But other than that, we're holding steady and our roll is good, and we're in good shape. Any questions, comments?
I'm not hearing any questions, but if there are any, speak up. I think my impression is that there are not any at this point. It's a very complete report.
Great.
Thank you. We don't have a police report. Highway report, Bob, you were on.
So we have the auction results of the surplus equipment. The 14-inch chainsaw brought $160. The 16-inch chainsaw brought $145. The 20-inch chainsaw brought $230. And the Skag zero-turn mower brought $1,675.
Well, that sounds like you did pretty well.
I'm happy with the results.
Yep, good.
Would the board like to accept those?
Is there a motion from the board to
So moved.
accept the auction results?
So moved.
Second.
Take your pick.
John.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Next, I have an amended 284 agreement for the board to consider. I have added Mill Road under 2A for a total of $112,000. This will be to improve drainage, T&L hot mix paid 2 inches compacted, and install new gravel shoulders.
Could I have a motion to approve the 284 agreement with the highway superintendent?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
you're welcome to stay through the rest of the meeting. It's a warm night, so we would also understand if you want to head out. But we will be going through the curb cut and the stormwater retention, those aspects of the new highway site. And I'm going to ask George just to give us a little update on the construction in a minute. The planning, zoning, and building reports were emailed to the board by the town clerk, so if you received those. We're now going to go through town board committee reports. The first one is from the Conservation Advisory Committee, and Mary Lynn is here.
This is my last report on this. And I wanted to say that we've gotten about 30 or so plants in. There will be more planted, but we're essentially finished. There's lots of watering going on, and the most exciting thing is that the bees are there. They're hard to see from the sidewalk, but if you come close, especially on the butterfly weed, you can see these little teeny creatures, which are solitary bees. They're the native bees of this country, along with the bumblebee. Honeybees are not native. We also I've written some informational stuff and sent it to the Millerton News, and Whitney has been very good about printing that. There was an article in today's newspaper. That we had 2 articles in, and I'm planning to write some more. I want to continue to thank all the volunteers who really stepped up to help us complete this. I couldn't have done it without it. Lana, I'm going to thank you again. You're welcome. And we have a donation of a trellis from Valfort. That's a considerable donation, along with the $500 donation from a resident of the town for the flowers. It would be neat if you guys went and took a look at it. And I want to finish this report, trying to keep it to 2 minutes, by saying something that probably you will not like to hear, but I'm going to say it. I recently received notice that there would be no money coming from the town board. And I heard from one town board member that we couldn't spend the people's money on a people's community pollinator garden. And I want to remind you all, except for Lana, who is not on the board, my voice is shaking because this is hard for me to say, that you voted $720 to be spent on a basketball team whose coach came from Armenia. I don't want to receive any comments from you. I just want to say that that's a double standard. This is your committee doing something. A token would have been nice to receive. I want to say that Daniel Goldhagen asked me to tell you that he was quite upset by that unanimous vote. I don't know how long ago it was. I know, George, you were supervisor at the time. And I don't want to hear any thank yous. I'm not interested in the thank yous. I know these are different times. I did not want to you don't want to set a precedent, I understand that, but you have already set a precedent by giving this basketball team $720. That's it, thank you.
The Highway Committee has met a couple of times, more than a couple of times. George, you want to just give people just a quick update on where the progress of the highway garage is?
Really quickly, because it is hot. We are moving right along up there. The footings were poured about 10 days ago. We got the 7-day break results, which were extremely good. We poured this past Tuesday the walls. So we are ahead of schedule. We are moving right along. I expect that the walls will be stripped starting this Saturday. And then work will begin on putting the roof on. So we are on schedule, if not a little ahead, and we certainly hope to keep that on.
Great. Thank you, George. The next is the Police Services Committee, and I don't know who was planning to.
I think we're up to
Yeah, comment.
Okay, just gonna move the microphone in your direction.
All right. I've contacted the mayor and we discussed the upcoming contract. The budget for the Millerton Police is about $100,000 annually. And of that amount, $26,000 is contributed by the town. What both the mayor and Chris Kennan have been working on is getting a law enforcement accreditation from New York State. Now, this is on law enforcement. Not every town in the area has accreditation. It's a special process that's self-initiated, and it's a voluntary process. It ensures that the department is following best practices of law enforcement. That would include traffic control, apprehension, detention training, and court-related services. So far, the Millerton Police have been really well known to be courteous, effective, and that's what both Chris and Debbie are stressing. The new contract, which will be available, will be completed and ready for a signature in next month, I guess, right, August. That will include a provision for on-site input from the town. In the past, we've heard reports at every meeting. The police issue all their statistics, but we want to have oversight. So there'll be meetings scheduled between the Police Services Committee, the Lana and I, and members from the village. We'll have meetings periodically just to go over all of the details of police enforcement, just to make sure that we're following the best possible practices of police enforcement. So that's about it.
Okay. Thank you. I do think that that's the idea of a joint committee between village trustees and town board members to meet together and oversee and review the police and the police department would be a great improvement in the way we operate. So we obviously need to hear back from the village as to their view of that. Recreation committee.
Okay, John and I both have got a little something to say.
Are you going to start, Lana?
Okay, sure. I met with village trustee Jennifer Nijak just to review the functions of the Recreation Park Department because I wasn't quite sure what was involved. The village currently has an annual budget of approximately $100,000, and the town contributes up to $35,000 of the net expenses. Their main event is the 6-week summer camp, which is normally held at the Eddie Collins Memorial Park. However, that won't be happening this summer because of the pandemic. The recreation budget also includes all the maintenance and utilities of the park, the composting toilets, the garbage removal throughout the village, lawn mowing for Veterans Park, the schoolhouse, and the gazebo. So it just gives us an idea of just how the money is spent and what they do. And John, you've got some additional, you spoke with Debbie.
I spoke with Debbie Middlebrook and went over the contract with her, and she notified us that because the 6-week summer camp will not be happening this year, there's a chance that the town's portion will be less than the $35,000. Not guaranteed, but that's a possibility. And later on, this month before the next board meeting, Lana and I are going to sit down and meet with Village Representative Jen Nijak to go over in more detail the budget and see some statistics on how many town of Northeast kids go to the summer camp, and in relation to the village of Millerton, kind of get some more information on the budget and also the statistics. And from next month, we should be ready to come together with a contract to put forward.
All right, thank you, John. And last, certainly, of the committee reports, certainly not least, Edie Greenwood, you want to, no report?
Haven't had my first meeting yet.
But you are having a meeting.
Yes. Oh, I can report that. Yes, our initial meeting is going to be here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. The agenda's been put up on the town website, and it's basically an introduction. I've circulated a draft request for proposal. I have 4 planners who have expressed interest, and once the committee agrees, or we modify, whatever we end up with the request being, I'll send it out the next morning. And my idea, having looked at other RFPs for this sort of work, is apparently 3 weeks is sufficient turnaround. So the bids are to be in by August 6th. And the last agenda item is going to be setting a calendar of dates and a discussion of how we want to have our committee meet going forward.
Great, thank you. Moving on down the agenda. As the board will recall, last month we voted to accept a quote for workers' comp insurance from the Workers' Comp Alliance. So we voted to take their bid for workers' comp insurance, and now we actually have the paperwork to complete to do that. So we have 2 resolutions which were in front of you. The first one is I don't know which one you have as the first one, but I think it's the slightly longer one.
Correct.
Could you read that resolution for us?
Certainly.
Let me just put this microphone over in your direction. There you go.
Whereas there has been proposed a New York State Municipal Workers' Compensation Alliance plan document pursuant to Section 50, Subdivision 3-A of the Workers' Compensation Law, hereinafter the plan, and whereas the town of Northeast is eligible for membership in the plan, and whereas the town of Northeast has made an independent investigation of the plan and reviewed the plan document, and has concluded that it would be in the interest of the town of Northeast to participate therein, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Northeast enter into membership in the plan pursuant to Section 50, Subdivision 3-A of Workers' Compensation Law, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor be and hereby is authorized and instructed to execute the plan's charter document on behalf of the town of Northeast, and be it further resolved that the custody of all joint plan monies by the plan administrator under the plan be and the same hereby is approved.
Okay, so we need somebody to make a motion to approve this resolution.
So move.
Ralph made the motion.
Second.
John Midwood seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes. Okay, and the second one is also a motion. Would you please read that motion, that resolution?
Resolved that the town of Northeast hereby elects pursuant to subdivision 3-A of section 50 of the workers' compensation law to become a self-insurer as to workers' compensation claims against this municipality, and be it further resolved that pursuant to section 50 subdivision 3A of said workers' compensation law, notice of such election shall be filed forthwith with the chairman of the workers' compensation board, self-insurance section, and be it further resolved that this election shall become effective on July 1st, 2020.
Could I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are moving right along here. At our last meeting, hold on, let's get the microphone back. At our last meeting, the board voted to approve a resolution establishing a zoning review committee. There were a few glitches, small glitches, which we attempted to fix at the meeting, but I think we felt it was more proper to fix them and pass the resolution over again with those corrections. If we just, Warren, if we just highlight the corrections, can we just pass them, or do we need to go through the whole thing again?
Give me a moment.
Okay, the corrections are a correction in the date of the original town zoning law back in 1977. And then 2 paragraphs in the resolved section of the resolution.
You want me to,
You have
yeah.
those 2
The
paragraphs?
2 changes are resolved, if you can hear me.
Yeah, send us your way.
Come closer. The 2 changes are, we added, that the zoning review committee shall consist of no more than 9 members, all of whom shall be either residents or property owners of the town of Northeast. No more than, and we left that blank for you to fill in, blank members shall be residents of the village of Middleton.
That was
I don't know whether you want
4.
to put a
That was
limit
4,
on
is what I believe
Pardon?
I believe the number was 4.
4, okay, so that should be plugged in. And then the second is resolved, that at least 1 member shall be a member of the Northeast Planning Board, 1 member shall be a member of the Northeast Zoning Board of Appeals, and selecting members of the town board shall try to reflect different constituencies within the town of Northeast, including its incorporated village of Middleton. Otherwise, the resolution is the same.
And so would it be appropriate simply to have a motion to accept as that resolution as,
Well, I just made an amended entirely.
the rest of it is as was read at the last meeting. So do we need to read the whole thing, or?
I don't think you have to read it. Do it if you want.
Is there a motion to approve the corrections to this resolution?
So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see that Dave Rudine is here, and we've been moving right along, Dave, but we would be happy to give a report.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
My apologies, I only found out about you guys being here a short time ago, after I checked my email, so.
Yep.
Anyway, so my apologies, I don't have the full report, but we will send that to you as soon as it's done. It'll probably be done tonight. And so I will get that off to you guys as long as the chief peruses it first and approves it. But we should have that out to you tonight. But I'll give you the numbers. So for June of 2020, our numbers were much less than what they were last year. We had a total of 23 incidents or calls, 9 8 in the town and 15 in the village. We had no arrests in the town, we had 2 arrests in the village. For 2019, we had a total of 37 incidents, 21 in the village and 16 in the town. And out of that, there were 5 arrests, 3 in the town, 2 in the village. So our numbers continue to be down during the virus. I think 911's calls are down as well. Not quite sure why. I'm glad they're down. I expected they might tend to go up. You know, people spend a lot of time indoors and in their houses, but that was not the case. And you know, again, our numbers remain pretty low for summer. You know, we're in the middle of summer, so they usually would be quite a bit higher than what they are today.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to getting your report, which I will distribute to the board and to any members of the public who would like to receive it. It is an interesting report. The May report I found really told a lot of stories because you were giving out face masks at the top of the rail trail, and I think it was an amazing number of face masks that were given out. I think it was in the hundreds.
Oh, we definitely handed out several hundred we basically had two major events that we handed out at the rail trail for. More importantly, what you saw in the incidents, we didn't put in an incident report for the masks, but we did actually give out helmets.
I saw that.
And I have been in touch with Bill Johnson. They were supposed to get a supply this last week. I haven't stopped by to pick them up, but he says, come on up, we'll load them up.
Where are they coming from?
They come into traffic safety.
So from the county?
It's actually a New York State grant program. So nobody in the county can apply for them except the traffic safety folks. Well, I shouldn't say nobody can. I believe they're all being funneled through the traffic safety office. They have a trailer. He has indicated to me that they'll bring it on up, and we'll try to get a couple of days in so we're giving out helmets. It was a huge success. We ran out of youth helmets. That was the big thing. That was probably the most popular type. So we got a couple of adult helmets left, but we ran out of the youth helmets. So and there's still a large share of people on the young ones on the rail trail that we like to see everybody in helmets. So that's the goal.
And they're important on the rail trail. I know that we had an EMS call for an accident on the rail trail down at Downey Road a few weeks ago. Somebody who fell off without a helmet and was hurt. When I see people, they think the rail trail, just because it's straight, is that nothing can happen, and that's not true.
I'll share a quick little story with you. I went with my son all the way down the rail trail to East Fishkill, back to the old Stockyard restaurant where that used to be. And I was going straight. My son turned very quickly, and I had my bike and my feet, my shoes are part of. I have to release very quickly. Turn my foot and release. He came right in front of me, and when he hit the brake, I was able to stop and not hit him, but I didn't have time to release my foot out of there. I got scraped up, no big deal. Had my helmet on. If I hadn't had my helmet on, I probably would have sustained an injury to my head. So anyway, I'm definitely a believer, same as I am with seatbelts, and it's going to keep people a little safer, I think. But anyway, so we're gonna try to get that advertisement out, get plenty of advance notice and try to get the message out to people so we can do a couple of events in the next couple of months.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you very much, and thank you for stopping by.
Yes, indeed. Anybody have any
Any
questions?
others, members of the board? No?
Okay. Well, stay well, everybody, and have a good evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is going back to the highway garage. As the board knows, and as George alluded to, last year, we took out what is known as a band or a bond anticipation note for $454,000 for phase one of the highway project, which is the storage building and the fuel storage and fuel management. We have also received grant money from Dutchess County, both in 2018 and 2019. And town funds as well. But as we continue with it, we need to take out a second bond anticipation note. So this would be for, let me just make sure that I get the numbers right, for $420,000. Last year, the band that we took out, we got an interest rate, I think, of 2.15 for that 1 year. We solicited bids for the band for this year, and the bank which had issued last year's band came back with a 1.19, which was certainly a big improvement over the previous year, and obviously reflects the circumstances that we are in and interest rates. But we kept looking, and I'm happy to say that we were able to get an even better bid from the Bank of Millbrook for 0.95% for a bond anticipation note. This is a real help to us. Pandemics have small silver linings. This might be one of them. In any event, what we will do then is to roll the first band we took out last year also into that, to get that interest rate. So we have this bond resolution, and Warren, correct me if I go off course here, but it's the resolution that needs to be read, as I understand it, is the first 4 pages, and not the rest of it, which is what goes into the newspaper. Does that sound right?
Correct.
So Gail, you would please read the resolution for us.
Certainly. Bond resolution dated July 9th, 2020. A resolution authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the construction of Phase 2 of the new highway garage facility with sand salt storage building on a town-owned parcel of land on Route 22 in Millerton, New York, in and for the town of Northeast, Dutchess County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $1 million, and authorizing the issuance of not exceeding $440,000 bonds of said town to pay a portion of cost thereof. Whereas all conditions precedent to the financing of the capital project hereinafter described, including compliance with the provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, have been performed, and whereas the capital project hereinafter described has been determined to be an unlisted action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, promulgated pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the implementation of which, as proposed, the town board has determined will not result in any significant adverse environmental effects, and whereas it is now desired to authorize the financing thereof, now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Northeast, Dutchess County, New York as follows. Section 1. The construction of Phase 2 of a new highway garage facility with sand salt storage building on a town-owned parcel of land on Route 22 in Millerton, New York, in and for the town of Northeast, Dutchess County, New York, including original furnishings, equipment, machinery, apparatus, appurtenances, site improvements, and other incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith, is hereby authorized at a maximum estimated cost of $1 million. Section 2. The plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is as follows. A. By the issuance of not exceeding 440,000 serial bonds of said town, hereby authorized to be issued therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law, and B. By the expenditure of not exceeding 233,000 current available fund monies hereby appropriated therefore, and C. By the expenditure of 327,000 grant and aid monies hereby appropriated therefore. Section 3. It is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid specific object or purpose is 30 years, pursuant to subdivision 11A1 of paragraph A of section 11.00 of the local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the serial bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 4. The faith and credit of said Town of Northeast Dutchess County, New York, and hereby irrevocably pledged for the payment of the principal of and the interest on such bonds as the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds becoming due and payable in such year. There shall annually be levied on all the taxable real property in said town a tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds as the same become due and payable. Section 5. Subject to the provisions of the local finance law, the power to authorize the issuance of and to sell bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale of the bonds herein authorized, including renewals of such notes, is hereby delegated to the supervisor of said town, the chief fiscal officer. Such notes shall be of such terms, form, and contents, and shall be sold in such manner as may be prescribed by said supervisor, consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 6. All other matters, except as provided herein relating to the bonds herein authorized, including the date, denominations, maturities, and interest payment dates, within the limitations prescribed herein, and the manner of execution of the same, including the consolidation with other issues, and also the ability to issue bonds with substantially level or declining annual debt service, shall be determined by the supervisor, the chief fiscal officer of such town. Such bonds shall contain substantially the recital of validity clause provided for in section 52.00 of the local finance law, and shall otherwise be in such form and contain such recitals in addition to those required by section 51.00 of the local finance law, as the supervisor shall determine consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 7. The validity of such bonds and bond anticipation notes may be contested only if 1. Such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which said town is not authorized to expend money, or 2. The provisions of law which should be complied with at the date of the publication of this resolution are not substantially complied with, and an action, suit, or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of such publication, or 3, such obligations are authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 8. This resolution shall constitute a statement of official intent for purposes of Treasury Regulation Section 1.150-2. Other than as specified in this resolution, no monies are, or are reasonably expected to be, reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect to the permanent funding of the object or purpose described herein. Section 9. Upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in full or summary form in the official newspaper of said town for such purpose, together with a notice of the town clerk in substantially the form provided in section 81.00 of the local finance law. Section 10. This resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum.
And we will need a roll call vote on this. But before we get to that, are there any comments or questions from the board? If George, you were supervisor when the last ban was issued. And we've had a chance to discuss this one. I don't know if you have any comments you'd like to make about it.
Well, the only thing that I would say is that it's unbelievable that we're getting the rate that we are. 0.95 is a spectacular rate. We will not be able to get this rate again. They don't come around very often. We need to take advantage of it as quickly and as thoroughly as possible. The amount that we're borrowing will cover our expenses through phase 2. And once again, as I'm sure everyone knows, when we get to phase 3, we will once again be adding that in and bonding that at the time. But this is step 2 for phase 2.
Phase 3 is obviously the biggest, most complicated, most expensive part of this whole project. So the financing of phase 3 is a challenge which we still have in front of us. But unless there are any other questions or comments, Gail, if you would be kind to.
Is there a motion, Chris?
I guess we do need a motion.
So
Is there a
moved.
motion? George makes a motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ralph.
Supervisor Kennett?
Yes.
Councilman Fidelli?
Yes.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Thank you. Okay, we're still on the highway garage. One of the constraints of the site not having an infinite amount of land is that a larger site might have been able to put in a stormwater retention basin. We could put in a stormwater retention basin, but it would substantially detract from the ability to store materials out on the site. And therefore, our engineer has recommended to us that we get a stormwater water quality treatment unit. And this would meet the requirements of New York State DEC Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. This is because the site, which is, as everybody knows, at the moment is just dirt, is going to be now covered, more and more covered by buildings and to some degree by paving, so that water is not able to percolate through the ground, so it goes into the stream there, and we are going to make sure that the runoff from the site is as clean as it can be before it goes into Weepatuck Creek. And of course, this is not the filter and so on that would actually be in the garage that would address things like motor oils and so on. Anyway, our engineer was able to, he contacted 3 vendors to obtain written quotations, received 2 written quotations. The third indicated it would not be able to fulfill our needs. His recommendation is that we move forward with the low bid from Contech in the amount of $26,928. The reason we're doing this item separately and not as part of the contract is because we are able to purchase these directly. If they were purchased by the contractor, there would be a markup on them, and we're trying to save some money on this. So I would like a motion to accept the low bid from Contech for stormwater quality treatment unit of $26,928.
So moved.
Motion from John Midwood.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Still on the highway garage. One of the other items which we need to do this year is, as I think everybody knows who's been up there, we have a gravel driveway onto the site, which is really just created by pouring gravel. And we are required to have a proper entrance to the site, which meets the specifications of the Department of Transportation. So this is called the DOT entrance. It's a concrete curb, certain dimensions. We've been, because the contractor who's working on the site is very familiar with the site, has equipment on the site, has been bringing concrete onto the site. We asked him if he would make an offer to complete for the labor and materials for the entrance curb. We're also going to use our highway crew for some of this as well. So that actually will be the first part of it. Will be, as I understand it, will be preparing the ditch essentially for the forms to be put in as a concrete.
Correct.
Is that more or less correct?
It is.
Anyway, One Way Construction Services is offered to do it for $8,600. Our engineer wrote to me that the cost is reasonable for the work to be performed, and that the town can handle this as a change order to the current contract with One Way Construction. This was something else that we hope to get done this year, this summer. So I'd like to have a motion to accept the proposal from One Way Construction for the concrete curb.
So moved.
Motion from Ralph. Do I have a second?
Second.
From George, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. We have two copy machines in Town Hall. One's upstairs and one's downstairs. The one downstairs is the newer and fancier one that can do a lot of things. The one upstairs is 9 years old, has been out of contract for quite a while, and you can't scan things to it and have it go to where they're supposed to go. Furthermore, because it's out of contract, anything goes wrong with it, we're going to be looking at a very large bill. 9 years is actually quite a good life to get out of a machine like this. So Lorna has gotten a proposal from Konica Minolta for a replacement for the upstairs copy machine, scanning machine. I don't know what else it does, but it does a lot. It's not the fanciest one in the world, but it does what we need it to do. It's with a 6-month deferred purchase price of $70.99.
60 month,
Excuse me?
60 month.
60-month purchase price of $70.99 a month, or a purchase price of $42,059.37. Anyway, I do think that having worked with this upstairs machine now for a while, I tried to, it's time for us to replace this copy machine. So I would like to have a motion to approve the lease of the Konica Minolta BizHub C227.
What's for what, 4,259?
Yeah. Not
So
more than
moved.
2,000.
Yeah.
Motion made by Ralph,
Second.
seconded by Lynn.
Auctions International.
Maybe auction it off?
We've actually sold one on Auctions International, an old copier, and we made it okay. I'd be happy to.
Good.
Yeah. That would be great.
Recover something from the
Okay, the minutes of the town board meeting of June 11, 2020 were sent to the board. Is there a motion to approve the minutes or any changes or comments made to the minutes? Hearing none. A motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Lana,
Second.
second by John Goodwood. All in favor?
Aye.
We have a budget adjustment for the DB fund, highway town outside. An expense increase of $119,081, less a revenue increase of $119,081. This reflects the CHIPS money that is coming from the state. And as I think you mostly know, in the budget, at the beginning of the year, we don't know what we're going to get from CHIPS money, so that line is left empty until we find out what it is that we are getting, and that is what we're receiving this year in CHIPS money. What we don't know is what we're going to get next year, and that's a concern, which, given the fiscal situation of the state, is understandable, but not great. Can I have a motion to accept the budget adjustment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've got an abstract dated July 9, 2020, totaling $405,795.67, broken down as follows. A fund, $64,592.41. B fund, $601. DB fund, $63,881.60. Capital projects H1, $272,836.30. Special grant fund, $3,370.70. Escrow T and A2, $350. Payroll T and A, $163.66. Do I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have an abstract dated June 29th, 2020, totaling $10,583.74, broken down as follows. A fund, $3,625.21. DB fund, $6,958.53. Do I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I've lost my place. The voucher committee for August is John Midwood and Lana Morrison. Next item is our public comment period. We have audience and people on our Zoom meeting who may wish to make a comment. And I think, Bill, since you sat through the meeting,
Yeah, sure, I'll make a comment.
I don't know if you wanted to, but
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm really happy to hear that the town board is taking it upon themselves to become part of the oversight of the police department, because the police department does operate within the town. And I hope that you're successful in terms of negotiating with the village. and that this brings more transparency and inclusiveness to the process of overseeing the police department. So glad to see it. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, hang on here. This is where it gets tricky. If there are any participants on the Zoom call who would like to make a comment, you need to make yourselves visible in some way. Let me try by unmuting you. Hold on.
Unmute everyone, see if someone else.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute everyone. Okay. Which of the people who are online would like to make, okay, hang on a second. Who was that Joan?
Yes, but I have nothing to say.
Okay. Anyone else? Wait a minute, I think, let me make sure that everybody's, I want to make sure that everybody is unmuted that would like to speak. I'm not hearing anybody. I'm trying to unmute those who appear still to be muted. If anybody would like to speak, you're going to need to unmute yourselves because I've tried it 3 or 4 times now and it says all participants are unmuted. Not hearing anybody? I think we are ready to adjourn. Warren? Anything you want to say?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Make a motion to adjourn.
It's good to see all of you.
Motion to adjourn, seconded by George Day. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.